A career fisherman is working off of the coast of Japan. It takes a huge amount of effort to work this job. It's strenuous to navigate towards where he thinks fish might be, and it's even more difficult to land the fish that he does catch. But in this instance, he thinks he's succeeded. He starts to become excited and his haul swells. But as he pulls in his trawl, instead of fish, he sees an endless pile of monster-sized jellyfish rise to the surface. The boat, weighing 20,000 pounds, tips. It capsizes. He and his two co-workers tumble off of the deck into the icy water below. The animal that led to that 2009 disaster was the Nomura's jellyfish. It can grow to be 6 feet in length, roughly the size of a grand piano. In 2007 alone, just prior to the sinking of the trawler, jellyfish caused over 15,000 reports of damage to fishing equipment, costing at least $20 million. But wouldn't there be jellyfish contingencies for people in this line of work? While large groups of the animal are not new, in some regions such a constant occurrence of blooms of jellyfish, a term for instances of the rapid reproduction in the open ocean of some species, are a potentially contemporary phenomenon. Normally, these events are spaced apart, fluctuate, and stick to a schedule. For several species of problematic jellyfish living in proximity to humans, this is less true in recent years. As you will soon come to understand, such jellyfish outbreaks may be a direct result of the fishing industry itself. It's a stark reality as well as, in this case, an absurd irony. It's also a fatal one. So why? Why are there more and more incidences of beach closures, jellyfish stings, and clogged power plant intake systems? Why, on local scales, are there more and more jellyfish? The answer lies with how their numbers are normally controlled. Both competitors and predators, the fish and animals that eat things that the jellyfish do too, or that eat the jellyfish themselves, are suffering from overfishing. Humans are decimating fish stocks in an economy that rewards those who fish the most, not those who fish considerately. Because of their ability to control the number of animals like jellyfish, the tragedy is not simply in their own depletion, but also in the way that the ecosystem shifts from one stable state to another when these fish are no longer around to feed. The removal of predators higher up on the food chain causes a ripple effect that spreads downward. This is called a trophic cascade. Dr. Mark Gibbons is a marine ecologist who has studied this phenomenon off of Namibia in southwestern Africa. He's seen what happens when sardines are removed from a community, and their role in energy recycling is occupied and concluded by jellyfish.
The jellyfish are keeping the numbers of sardines now down to the point of Namibia that they're not able to break out of that pit until something happens to the jellyfish population to bring them back down, and at the same time provide the environmental opportunities for the sardine to increase.
The dynamic that Dr. Gibbons is describing is that of a feedback loop, where fish recovery is slower than expected and the problem amplifies itself. With the relaxation of certain predators, certain jellyfish experience less loss of life and propagate more quickly. Because jellyfish can eat the spawn of an overfished species, in this case sardines, the overfished species becomes stuck in a predator pit, while the high rate of jellyfish survival accelerates that survival even further. Prey becomes predator in a regime shift that prevents the original predator's recovery. Since the 1990s, the number of overfished species within the United States has been reduced by 2/3. At the same time, this change saw increased profits among American fisheries of more than half. Governmental regulation works without harming the economic robustness of fishing. Things have been improving. Still, even as the situation gets better in some countries, over 1/3 of fisheries, contributing more than 1/5 of the world's catch, are overexploited. Thinking about biodiversity more generally, the pressures of understrained fishing cause real, widespread problems, even without considering jellyfish in particular. So how can we fix it? We need to embrace adaptive and ecosystem-based fishery management, conservation that is responsive, precautionary, tests its own methods, accounts for extraneous factors, and bases further action on what's observed, while continuously surveilling worldwide fish stocks and jellyfish numbers. We need to direct fishing to areas that reconfigure migratory routes and connections, allowing fish stocks to return to breakout population numbers. The science surrounding jellyfish populations and the true degree of their proliferation is far from settled, and indeed many scientists are skeptical of a worldwide increase outside of normal oscillation. More research is needed to identify triggers of feedback loops, and improved prediction models are necessary to ameliorate these issues as they relate to the readiness of our own needed resources and the stability and durability of the ocean ecosystem structures that provide them.
In more complex temperate systems, where you've got, as I said, these multiple species that are occupying the same guild, you take one out, another comes in. But if you take all of them out, then you provide an opportunity for jellyfish to come in. So I think what we're trying to do, the research that is highlighting, is the fact that fisheries is probably the biggest, in our opinion, is the biggest threat to sustainable pelagic ecosystem management.
But what if you don't work as a conservationist or have the ability to legislate environmental policy yourself? There are still things that you can do as an individual. Elect leaders that will remove fishing subsidies that fuel the industry, or politicians that recognize and will address the issues of overfishing, climate change, and nutrient pollution, all of which create regime changes in ecosystems. But also consider your own consumption.
So it's a case of we need to be supporting the careful management of fisheries and supporting those resources that are sustainably harvested. Whether it's a shark or whether it's an anchovy, doesn't really matter, because it's all part and parcel of the same philosophy. There isn't one particular species that you should be avoiding, as it were, as long as the resources themselves are coming from sustainably accredited fisheries.
Consult the Marine Conservation Society's Good Fish Guide or the Seafood Watch app and buy from small-scale and sustainable community-supported fisheries that sell fish directly to the consumers. If you live in the United States, check localcatch.org. Avoid products caught through practices such as longline fishing or bottom trawling that result in non-selective bycatch, or consider fish that's been responsibly aquacultured. Do any or all of this because as predators are depleted and food webs rearrange in fisheries across the world, jellyfish or not, in some places you may one day be unable to buy any fish at all.